Good morning to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay, thank
Good
you very
morning,
much.
ma'am. Am I visible and audible?
Good
Yeah,
morning. Good morning, Dr. Vaishali.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you? Am I visible and audible?
Good morning. We are fine. Yeah, you are visible, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
मैडम 8 बज गए
ये डिस्प्ले जो टेढ़ा आ रहा है
विसी मैडम आ गई थी हाँ करिए सर इसको एडमिट करिए ना कैसे करिए समन
अग्रवाल जी
स्टार्ट कर कर ली मैडम जो जवान कर लिए क्या स्टार्ट करें तो फुल स्क्रीन कर मैं दिखूंगी नहीं A very good morning to all of you.
Good morning,
I
everybody.
extend a warm welcome to our honorable guest of honor today, Dr. Aruna Palta ma'am, Vice Chancellor, VC of Hemchand University, Durg. Our respected principal ma'am, Dr. Alka Meshram, Principal, Indira Gandhi Govt, PG College of Arts and Commerce, Bhilai. I extend my sincere gratitude and welcome to our distinguished guest from different parts of the country, Dr. Vaishali Bose from Sultanate of Oman, Dr. Monu Priyadarshini ma'am from California, Reverend Poonam Bent from Australia, Dr. S.S. Raghuvanshi sir from USA, Madam Sakshi Bhalikar from Finland. Welcome all of you, ma'am and sir, to this webinar. Today I feel that the world is a small place as we and our dignified guests from various parts of the world are today in this webinar, and we have got this auspicious opportunity to interact with each other. The topic of our today's webinar is Your Attitude Defines Your Altitude. It's a webinar on mental health. We all know today that we are very much concerned about mental health. In today's world, we are undergoing a lots of mental upheavals. Right from our childhood, moving towards our adolescence, and in the youth, and at last in the old age. Somehow or the other, we undergo mental conflicts. Every age has its own mental challenges, and we face this challenge very bravely and depending upon our aptitude. Every individual today, right from his childhood, tries to reconcile with the environment, cope up with the day to day confusions in his life. But it depends upon person to person as how he endures these upheavals. Some may come out of these mental confusions very successfully, but a few may lead to a disaster. Hence, it is very important to have a strong and sound mental health. A person with strong and sound mental health will proceed forward and ultimately reach its goal, his altitude, that is success. Hence, it is a sound mental health that defines our attitude as it helps us to reach our altitude. Today, in this webinar, we have eminent speakers from various professions. Hence, we would hear about clinical scenario of mental health. We would know about the spiritual aspects, about the scientific aspects, and also about the religious aspects of mental health. It has been said, mental health is a state of well-being in which mental health is a state of well-being in which a person realizes his or her abilities, can cope with life stress, confusions, and work positively to reach his goal. So, in today's webinar, we'll understand different ways how to cope up with this mental health and how to have a strong mental health. I expect a patient hearing from all the participants today because in this webinar, we will try to strictly follow the time limit and the tenure. So now now start our webinar. So a welcome note from Dr. Alka Meshram. She is the principal of Indira Gandhi Govt PG College of Arts and Commerce, Bhilai. She is one of the youngest PG principal of this area. She is a personality who is dedicated to education, dedicated to education and her institution. It is due to her motivation that today's webinar was possible. It's under her able guidance that the institution has performed a successful national webinar on 30th June. It's under her motivation and guidance that the institution has many landmark achievements in its favor. So now, may I request Dr. Alka Mishra ma'am for her welcome note. Ma'am, please. Madam, you may start here.
It is a matter of pride and pleasure that his departments of knowledge jointly organizing an international seminar on such a useful topic. This topic is very relevant for the human society. But in the present COVID With time, it has acquired an added value and relevance. The amplifiers of which share about our present and future life. World is bent upon restoring the beauty of our mind. We
We
love
love to dream and aspire in normal times. Indeed, it is our thinking and approach to our circumstances which decided whether we succeed or fail, whether we upward and touch the sky or rush down to the dull earth,
our
or
self-confidence
self-confidence
in the
in the
face
face
of
of
difficulties
difficulties
defines
defines
us
us
as
as
human
human
beings.
beings.
We
We
have
have
here
here
an
an
immense
immense
panel
panel
of
of
resource
resource
persons.
persons.
I
I
am
am
sure
sure
through
through
this
this
webinar
webinar
we
we
will
will have
very
very
fruitful
fruitful
discussions
discussions
about
about
all the
all the
aspects
aspects
of
of
the
the
leadership
leadership
between
between
human
human
psychology
psychology
and
and
the
the
social
social
world.
world.
I
I
heartily
heartily
welcome
welcome
Dr.
Dr. Aruna Palta,
Honorable
Honorable
Vice
Vice
Chancellor,
Chancellor,
Human
Human
Hamilton
Hamilton Viswavidyalaya, Dur on this occasion. Welcome, ma'am. I welcome all the resource persons, Dr. Vaishali P Bose, Dr. Monu Priyadarshini, Sakshi Bhalekar, Pastor Sunam Band, and Dr. S.S. Raghuvanshi, who are connected to us from different parts of the world with immense pleasure. I welcome all the participants. The participants will get many benefits regarding understanding this relationship and managing their life with success. I thank Dr. Merili Roy, Head of Department English, Dr. Shikha Srivastava, Head of Department Zoology and IQAC in charge, Dr. Ravindra Chawda, Assistant Professor English, Dr. Ritesh Agrawal, Assistant Professor Economics, Dr. Sanjay Das, Head of Department Geography, Dr. Ajay Manhar, Head of Department Industrial Microbiology, Dr. S. K. Thakur, Head of Department Computer Science, and Professor Kailash Sharma, Head of Department Hindi, our college, for making all the necessary efforts for organizing this international webinar. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thanks, madam, for your vote of thanks. You have delivered all the proceedings and the summarization of the objectivity of the seminar, which is concerned to the mental health. It is must at this juncture because all of us know that the mental health is the best tester of the health of a personality that you have uttered very nicely and addressed to the people concerned worldwide. Thanks, madam, again. Now I am going to introduce our VC madam, Dr. Srimati Aruna Palta. We all know, and it's my pleasure to introduce her to all of you. She is outstanding, her career is notable and successful. Though her biodata is very long, I have that. I have gone through that, and it's marvelous and extraordinary. She deserves it, and she is the member of different professional bodies and academic bodies. She has done her PhD in prestigious way in assessment of nutrition and status of rice mill workers. From very beginning of her academic career, she has started the grassroots facts and figures and elaborate that in her academic career. Her experience is of 38 years in education field. Apart from that, I have gone through her weekly newspapers, articles that has been published 20 years back. I know that, and that experienced also in teaching and research work and guide of the scholars that she has done. She is the visiting faculty of IGNOU counselings. She is the member of different professional and academic bodies of Home Science, HSAI, IDAI, BPNI, NIHFW, all concerned academic bodies membership she has got, which is concerned to lifetime membership. She is not at present. She is working as Vice Chancellor of Hemchand Yadav University, Durg. She has published about 17 books. Has the editorialship of different books. She has reviewed in peer journals, Asian Journal of Dairy and Food Research. She is the member of advisory board of International Journal Lab to Land. She has published. So she is in the member of advisory board of a magazine. Likewise, she has published 568 publications. It's a huge number of publications. We all should learn from that. She has participated and contributed in academic professional expertise also. That is the concern of us. And she has coordinated IGNOU Raipur so many times. I welcome you, ma'am, for your learned and fruitful speech. Thank you, ma'am. Please, over to Vice Chancellor, madam. Are you getting me, madam? Vice Chancellor, madam, are you getting me? There is some technical problem. Let us wait for some time. And before that,
सर उन्हें अनम्यूट करिए उन्हें.
The mental health. The mental health, as I elaborated earlier, is the best part of health. Madam, are you getting? Vishi, madam.
दास सर उन्हें अनम्यूट करिए, मैडम को अनम्यूट करिए.
Madam,
दास सर
we are not getting your voice. Please unmute if you are there, please.
दास सर मैडम को अनम्यूट कराइए.
Over to Vishi, ma'am.
दास सर मैडम को अनम्यूट कराइए.
Please unmute, madam. We are not getting your voice. वहीं से होगा मैडम, वहीं से अनम्यूट होगा, वहां से म्यूट होगा. हाँ, प्लीज अनम्यूट मैडम, वहीं से होगा. ये बताइए.
दास सर वहां से नहीं हो पा रहा है मैडम से, यहाँ से करिए अनम्यूट.
I hope I'm audible to everybody.
Yes, very much, ma'am. Good morning.
Okay. A very good morning to one and all present in this webinar organized by Indira Gandhi Govt Arts and Commerce PG College, Vaishali, Nagar, Bhilai, Chhattisgarh, India. Of course, this is an international webinar very much dedicated to the mental health of people. So, a very, very catchy topic. Your attitude defines your altitude. And I recognize the presence of Honorable Principal, all the faculties of the college, all the attendees and experts across the nation and across the world. First of all, we should understand what is health. World Health Organization defines that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So this very well tells us that if you are mentally healthy only, then you can be then only you can be called that you are in a state of total health. And this topic today, which you have decided, is definitely very, very catchy, and it means that your prospects in life dictate your level of success. Being positive and working hard, people can reach great heights in whichever field they want. Years ago, Zig Ziglar declared, "It is your attitude more than your aptitude that will determine your altitude." The latest researches prove that, in fact, attitude is a better predictor of success than your IQ, your grade point average, or any other factor you can think of. Dr. Martin Seligman, in his book Learned Optimism, says that negative people get sick more often, are divorced more frequently, and raise kids who get in more trouble. Dr. Seligman also says that negative people could make less money in their jobs and even in their enterprises. Most of the people live under a huge misconception that I can't help the way I feel. That's just the way I am. That's the biggest fat lie of your life. One can definitely change the way you feel. This is something else that you don't know how to do that, but your attitudes are totally changeable and controllable. I would like to talk about Abraham Lincoln also, who I think had the most pressures in his life, including his career. To name some, he repeatedly lost elections. His marriage too was very difficult. The nation fell apart. But beyond all such challenges, he led a life with an indomitable positive attitude. He simply chose to be that way. As Lincoln said, most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. If any time you ask a group of people to write the characteristics of a winner in a single word, the words they choose are generally positive attitude, enthusiasm, determined, motivated, confident, optimistic, dedicated, happy, kind-hearted, hardworking, and patient. None of the above qualities are God-given, but they are all self-chosen attitudes or behaviors in some way or the other, and to a large extent, they decide whether you will be a winner in life regardless of your natural abilities. So the final thought before ending, just for today, make up your mind to be happy, no matter whatever the situation is. Just do it, and then do it again tomorrow and the next day, and then every day. Your attitude will have a bigger impact on your happiness and success than any of your aptitudes. You know why it's hard work to be, you know why it's hard to be happy? It is because we refuse to let go of the things that make us sad. It has been rightly said that life is 20% what happens to you and 80% how you deal with it. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. So, wishing that all your sessions today will be full of positive energy to take your webinar to the higher altitudes and thanking the organizers for giving me this platform to share my views with you all. Thanks once again. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Jai Chhattisgarh.
You have given us such beautiful points to reflect upon. As you said about, Abraham Lincoln having faced the most setbacks in his life, and the way you said that each person is about as happy as we decide to be, and the definition you gave of a successful person is extremely apt. How you said that their positive attitude and their confidence and their dedication is what determines the attitude we take. It is what determines our altitude. We thank you very much on behalf of the college family, madam, and aptly said that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Thank you very much, madam, on behalf of the college inspiring and truly wonderful words. Thank you so much. Now, I would please like to welcome Dr. Vaishali P. Bose. We are honored to have her here with us this morning. She is a most respected name in this field. Dr. Vaishali P. Bose is a medical professional presently practicing in the Sultanate of Oman. She has a glorious career. She finished her MBBS from SAIT's GS Medical College, KEM Hospital, Mumbai. She had her Associate Fellow Industrial Health from Mahatma Gandhi Labour Institute, Gujarat. She is certified with BLS, that is Basic Life Support, and ACLSC, the Advanced Cardiac Life Support from American Heart Association. Dr. Bose has many significant milestones, the most of which are that she is a trained trainer and conducted training and awareness on general health, HIV, epidemic control and prevention, and she is an active member of NACO. She is being appointed as head of Kamatipura, the red light area in Mumbai, for training of female sex workers. She is the achiever of the Best General Practitioner Award for Salt Sharakia region by Ministry of Health, the Sultanate of Oman in 2002. She had undergone several training programs and attended seminars on management of hypertension, acute hemorrhagic fever, disaster management, and many others. She is a registered speaker under Oman Medical Specialty Board. We wish you a very hearty welcome, madam, and we
Thank you so
invite
much.
you to please speak. Now, this is the beginning of the technical session. On behalf of the college family, I welcome you all again. Please, madam.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chabra, for the very, very inviting talk. I'm really very grateful to you. Hello and good morning, everybody. To introduce myself, I am Dr. Vaishali Bose. I am a practicing family physician in Sultanate of Oman. To start with, I would like to say a hearty thanks to the respected dignitaries affiliated to Hemchand Yadav Vishwavidyalay and Indira Gandhi Government College, namely Principal Dr. Mrs. Alkaji Meshram, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Aruna. Without any further delay, I am starting my PowerPoint presentation now. Is my presentation visible there? Can everybody hear me, please?
Yes. Yes, Dr. Barsa, we can hear you. We can't see the presentation yet.
You couldn't see the presentation. Okay. Can you see it, ma'am?
No, madam, not yet. Madam, click the presentation, then share screen. Try this.
Yeah, I've done it. Is it visible now?
Yes, madam.
Okay, fine.
No, again it is gone.
Again, this is gone, huh?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Now, is it there?
No, madam.
I can see it though. I see it on my screen.
Yes, even I can see it. It's fine.
Okay. Is it okay?
It just went away, sorry.
It just went away, right?
Sorry,
Actually, I'm
madam.
trying to open the second option now because the first option show the entire screen doesn't show it.
It seems to keep coming on and off. That's what happens.
Yeah. So is it there now?
Coming through now. It's coming through now.
Right. Okay. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, it's on now.
Fine. So today I feel very highly excited and honored to be here as a part of this group of professionals who are specialities in their own fields. And I do hope that we have a very informative session here, full of ideas, new and old, to make the topic a very useful one. In today's day of target and goals, where of achieving something, somewhere in this run, we get mentally stressed, burdened, and it's here that each one of us, at some time or the other, needs this dose of positive thoughts, bright hopes, good vibes, good companions, and in short, a constant dose of a positive recipe to keep our morale up and working towards success all throughout. And not only that, we learn ways, methods, ideas, tricks for the betterment that we can do to achieve positively charged and right. My discussion today, I would be highlighting the medical aspect of the behavioral attitude to understand whether this attitude is inbuilt in our system and whether it can be changed for our betterment or whether we can do something to tame it to our benefit. Here I introduce the topic of role of hormones in behavior. Though producing hormones is not totally under human control, and that though hormone secretion are a set of complex processes, even then we can intermediate some efforts to maximize the making of these beneficiary chemicals to our advantage. The so-called happy hormones make us happy because finally we are looking for a happy, content, and satisfied mind to reach those heights and altitudes. Though hormones in itself is a very huge topic of medical interest, still, as a clinician, I would like to introduce you to the concept of how these molecules affect our working and behavior, and what could be done in our capacity to tame these hormones to benefit our behavior and working as far as possible. But before getting into the details of the happy hormones, let me give you a very quick introduction to the concept of the endocrine system and the hormones in short. Now, what are hormones? Our brain constantly communicates with the rest of our body, sending special chemicals called hormones from one nerve to the other. These hormones have powerful influence on how our brain works and how our body works. They can increase or decrease our energy level, sex drive, and fat storage levels. They can even control our emotions and moods. Role of the endocrine system. Endocrine system, it's a system of glands that produce chemical messages called hormones that travel from one part of the body to another part of the body in order to control the body's environment and homeostasis. The endocrine system and the nervous system are closely related but unique in their own ways. Where the nervous system is very, very fast, where we can see the effects in milliseconds, and the effects of the endocrine system is very slow. It might take from minutes to days to weeks to see the effects of these hormones, but the effects of the endocrine system in our body are more lasting in time. These chemical messages called hormones are secreted from the endocrine glands in the endocrine system. Now let us have a quick look at the endocrine system in short, as a must mention to introduce the hormones in short, though I would not go into much details about the system as such. So this is the endocrine system and the endocrine glands as such. The first hypothalamus. Then comes the pituitary gland, followed by the thyroid gland. The pituitary gland is supposed to be called as the master gland, which is just situated below the hypothalamus. Regarding the thyroid gland, it plays a vital role in regulating body's metabolism. Now, you must have observed doctors investigating on thyroid hormones in patients with complaints like tiredness, anxiety, perspiration, etc. Then comes the parathyroid hormone. Then there are a pair of adrenal glands. Down there we have the gonads, and there is a pancreas. Having introduced you to the hormones, I would now like to give a special mention to the happy hormones which would actually contribute to our topic of the day, namely dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. The first in the series being dopamine. Dopamine is also called as the feel-good hormone. People associate this hormone with pleasure and mood. It can motivate us to work hard or hardly work. It can make and break our work ethics. To boost the production of this hormone, we can include foods in our diet, such as chicken, eggs, nuts, beans, and cheese. The second hormone in the series of the happy hormone being serotonin. If we sleep well, if we have a high esteem, if we are generally in a good mood, if we enjoy a healthy appetite, and if we have a enjoyable happy sexual desire, and if we can minimize tensions easily, then we can be sure that the serotonin is definitely at a good level. People with deficiency of serotonin suffer anxiety, depression, attacks, panic attacks, and fits of anger. To produce serotonin, we can include more carbohydrates. The triggers that can release production of serotonin being bananas, yogurt, also enough sunlight, which helps produce vitamin D, which in turn helps serotonin production. Coming to the third hormone in the happy hormone list is the melatonin hormone. This awesome chemical is also called as the anti-aging hormone or the calendar hormone, as it is responsible for regulation or of our body clock. It is also called as a calendar hormone because as the sun gets down, the pineal gland in our brain starts making melatonin, which in turn makes us sleepy. Unfortunately, melatonin production suffers with the usage of electronic equipments, which these days keep us away from getting enough shut eye by emitting a blue light that falsely resembles daylight. Melatonin deficiency can lead to obesity, diabetes, and other serious ailments like cancer. So it is rightly advised when we get to bed at night to put away any devices emitting blue light. Also, eat some fresh cherries if possible before going to sleep, as they are rich in melatonin. Also, do not wear tight clothing. Studies have shown that tight clothing also reduce the production of melatonin by as much as 60%. Coming to the fourth hormone in the happy hormone list is the oxytocin, which is also called as a love hormone. Our body releases it whenever we touch a loved, near and dear one, a friend, a relative, a lover, which boosts in us a feeling of love and trust, which is why being in a loving relationship makes people happy. If one feels stressed, lonely, tired, or unworthy, it means that our level of oxytocin is low. People with low oxytocin tend to be in a low in conversation or never tend to open up with someone. There are several tips to increase the love hormone in our body. First of all, get a massage. Yes, this will help us like firing two bullets with one dart. It relaxes our muscles, and as such, prolonged physical contact releases oxytocin in our system. Hence, the professional massage feels amazing. Coming to the fifth hormone in our list is the endorphins. Endorphins are natural hormone painkillers produced by our body. Another thing about endorphins is that they can make us feel high. When the pituitary gland starts popping endorphins, we feel euphoric. The more the endorphins in our body, the happier we are. This hormone also allows people to perform in extreme conditions. People with low level of endorphins are too emotionally sensitive, have an extremely low level of tolerance, crave comfort foods, and may even feel depressed. To boost our desired level of endorphins, we can follow a diet rich in good fats like avocados, coconuts, olives. Also try to get more out in the sun, listen to our favorite music, exercise regularly, laugh more, and eat some dark chocolate. In addition to these, I would like to mention also two other hormones which help us in flight and fight response, which are the adrenaline and noradrenaline. These two hormones are called epinephrine and norepinephrine, help us to deal stressful conditions. When we find ourselves in a stressful situation, the two glands at the top of the kidneys release these two hormones to prepare us to fight or flight mode. It makes us concentrate on the most urgent task at the moment. Adrenaline also helps us to think 2 to 3 times more quick by stimulating our brain in stressful situations. This important hormone can stop a heart attack or an allergic reaction. Adrenaline constricts our veins, which in turn causes our heart to pump more blood, also prevents the airway from narrowing if a person is having a life threatening allergic reaction. So the breathing returns to normal. It isn't secreted regularly and it disappears from the system when the threat is gone and the situation is safe. Deficiency of this hormone can lead to a mental health problems like depression, anxiety, even eating problems. People can feel low. People can feel low and low levels with low levels of epinephrine. If these all unfortunately seem familiar to us, then we can try balance the level of norepinephrine naturally by eating the right amount of bananas, beans, chocolates, cheese, eggs, chicken, meat, fish, and seafood, as well as oatmeal. With that note, I would like to wind my talk here and I will hand over the dais to Dr. Monu Sinha. Thank you all for giving me a patient hearing, and I really look forward to listening to some newer aspects of working towards a positive health and successful attitude for a brighter altitude. Thank you. Yeah.
Very nice, ma'am.
Thank you. Dr. Monu.
Can I get started then?
Yes,
Dr.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, please.
All right. I'm just going to start share my screen right away. Good morning, everybody. I didn't have a chance to say good morning to everyone. While I get my screen started, I also want to say, sorry. I also want to, my name is Monu Sinha and Monu Priyadarshini Sinha. I'm currently living in California. I work as a clinical research associate in anesthesia. I also want to say, give a disclaimer right away. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. And what I'm about to share is definitely from articles and peer-reviewed psychology articles, but most of what I want to share is from my own life experiences and from what I've learned. I'm not so experienced, but I'm going to try something. Yes. 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 Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Shrivastava. Thank you, ma'am. I'm just about to start my presentation. I'll get right into it. All right. So I hope everyone can see the slides.
I think it's loading, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Should I go ahead and start? Can you see my screen? Check again. Can everyone see my screen? Can I go ahead and start?
It's like a blank screen. So it shows and then it doesn't show. So
Oh, the screen's flickering. Is that what's going on?
That's probably what it is. Yeah. So it comes
Now
there.
it, yeah,
There it is.
yeah,
There
it's
it is.
good now. Yes. Again, it's gone.
Okay. I'm just
Yeah,
going to, I think the slideshow doesn't work, so I have to
Oh,
just,
okay. Just show the slides. Move them forward as you go.
yes, I guess that's, um,
this is gone again, ma'am.
and now?
No one still not yet.
Nothing. Yeah.
So sorry. I think I'd just go for, is this better?
No, not yet.
I think the second option worked for me
Second
last
option
time when
worked
I
for
tried.
me. Yeah, that's the one that worked for
Yeah,
me too. Yeah,
that's the
yesterday.
one she suggested, and it worked. Yes.
Try the
All right.
second option, Monu, if you can.
Show
All
your
right.
window.
Is that working now? I did the
Yes, it
second
is.
one.
It's loading. Yep, it's loaded.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
So I'll just go right into it. I just modified and tweaked it. Attitudes that may define our altitude. We're hoping for learning the skills that will help us get success. I'm going to focus on perseverance amidst a pandemic. To begin, I'd like to first just a plan of action. I'm going to go through what are attitudes, how to nurture the best ones, and the attitudes in a pandemic. What I wanted to pick two are acceptance and resilience. To define, well, first I like to define the word attitude, especially by psychologists or in academic circles. Attitude refers to a positive or a negative evaluation of an object. Objects include people, things, events, and issues. Attitudes can be composed of three components: the cognitive, affective, and the behavioral. The cognitive refers to our knowledge, beliefs about an object. The affective refers to our feelings towards an object. And the behavioral refers to our behavior towards an object. Now, beliefs, feelings, actions, all these can influence each other. And the goal here is to find how we can channel our beliefs, feelings, and actions to bring about positivity or a positive outcome in our life endeavors. For that, I have put down like 6 common or like basic attitudes that will foster positivity, such as acceptance, optimism, resilience. Will go to consciousness and mindfulness, integrity, and gratitude. A very brief pointers. Acceptance, acknowledging that things don't always work out how you want them to. The acknowledgement is good for is a good acceptance. There's a recent concept of radical acceptance. We'll come to it later. Next, optimism. Optimism, it's of prime importance, especially in our current world situation. Optimism, a willingness to make an effort and take a chance. Most importantly, to develop a growth mindset. Another one, resilience. Resilience is bouncing back from any adversity, failures, or any traumas in your life. It's a very valuable life skill. We'll come to it again towards the end. Consciousness and mindfulness, dedicating the mind to a conscious awareness, enhancing the ability to focus. All of this ultimately improves our efficiency in things. It also is important to combat anxiety. The next one, integrity. Integrity, the trait of being honorable, being righteous, adherent to moral values and ethical values. Integrity brings about benevolence, a kindness, and it inspires virtue. It inspires trust in other people. Gratitude. Gratitude is being appreciative of all the good things in life. There's a lot of research that says this is a very important attitude that promotes positivity in your life. It inculcates positivity. It helps connect people. It helps in our role in a community. Apart from these attitudes, what I'm going to, as I said, my focus would be the pandemic. And as we all know today, we are all witnesses to the most unprecedented of our times, our generations would have seen. In this unpredictable and uncertain times, it's also very important for us to recognize that all of us are susceptible to increased feelings of fear, anxiety, and depression. So my focus here is how can we respond to this pandemic situation in a way that will preserve our psychological well-being? have patience with all things, but first of all with yourself. So what does this mean? So I first want to bring this concept of that a person's self-esteem at the core of their self-worth should be this statement to themselves, this self-talk to themselves, that you are perfectly valuable, creative, a worthwhile person simply because you exist. And no amount of trauma, adversity, failures, or mistakes should change that. Never mistake your mistakes for your value. This is an unconditional self-acceptance. This develops a balanced and a peaceful mind. So how are we going to respond to the pandemic? I just put down a few simple measures that we could use to alleviate anxiety, very simple and practical ones. The first, of course, the step would be to recognize or identify when your body or your thoughts are responding to stress, to realize that it is a normal human response. Other measures that I put down are like common measures that you can practice during social distancing. Look for ways to have social and professional engagement, like this webinar. I'm really happy I got to meet all of you. This one thing. And this maintains a sense of belonging, helps feel connectedness with friends and family. The second thing, another thing would be to be conscious of our media intake. It's good to stay updated of news, like you could get a positive news about the vaccines when the vaccines are out. But it would be good to limit news on stats, exposure to too much stats and fatalities. It's good to stay faithful to a routine as much as possible, and staying on a routine gives us comfort and gives a structure to our life. It maintains a sense of normalcy. The other measures could be a silver lining opportunities. So with this ample time that we could invest in learning a new skill, a language, invest in exercise that will keep us upbeat, improve communication, tap into our creativity, improve communication in ways where just add a dash of kindness in everyone you speak to. That'll go a long way. And ultimately, and finally, a very important thing, if you perceive that the anxiety is causing you significant distress, it's impairing your functionality on a daily basis, do not hesitate to seek help. There are various avenues. You can just call your doctor and they will direct you. And every country and every place has these lines for mental health, telehealth services. Just reach out to your friends to find session, but do not hesitate to identify that. The other tools, these are tools that I've just put down. I've had the impression I would be speaking to an audience of students. So I just put down simple tools for staying on track, staying focused. These are useful even in a non-pandemic situation, such as setting up a goal, reflecting on your weaknesses and strengths, and staying optimistic. Now, setting up a goal, be smart about it. Let your goal be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-based. For example, I'm going to improve my CAT score by X number of points in X number of weeks by just practicing more questions or doing these many more questions in these many weeks. A smart plan. Reflecting on your strengths and weaknesses, your external opportunities or threats, saying how you can fix a weakness. Right now, develop the attitude, inculcate positivity and find other attitudes that are going to help you fix your weaknesses that might bring you down in a place of threat. That would be one of the things. The third picture, I just put it up there because this has a personal significance. This picture, I quickly want to put this out here. I'm sure all of you have come across this picture about staying positive, staying optimistic, never give up. So when I first came to the US, I was, within a few months, I was having a culture shock. I did not like the place. I wanted to go back home. My things were not working out for me. I just wanted to quit and go back home. And I was in a very bad state. I went through depression. I had to take medication. But one day my husband walks in from work and puts this up in front of my desk and reminds me to look it up always. And funny as it is, but be assured I'm not using any tactics visually. But yes, the idea is to maintain hope and never give up, staying optimistic. The next steps that I want to, get through to move on in this topic is now focus on the pandemic in an adversity, how to maintain optimism. As our honorary guest mentioned about Dr. Martin Seligman, he's the founding father of positive psychology, who introduced the concept of learned optimism. To cultivate a learned optimism is a concept that we can change our attitudes and behaviors to cultivate a positive perspective. And how do we do this? I picked just two valuable attributes that I would want, or we would want our students, or I would want myself to inculcate and improve. Two valuable attributes such as acceptance and resilience. Acceptance or rather radical acceptance and resilience. At first, I want to discuss what is radical acceptance. Radical acceptance, it's a relatively new concept, a skill taught in behavioral therapy, and it's a problem-solving tool. How is it different from acceptance? Acceptance is recognizing the facts, merely acknowledging it. Radical acceptance is going all the way. It's a step forward. It is, let me get the slide, sorry. Good. Radical acceptance. It's going forward. It is acceptance with mind, body, and heart. It is a distress tolerance skill. It avoids turning pain into suffering. So let's face it, the coronavirus is here, it's scary, no matter how unfair it is, no matter how it's going to change your plans and you're going to incur losses, we cannot change the fact that it is here and it is impacting our lives. Completely and totally accepting this fact is painful, but focusing on what we can control versus what we cannot can be liberating. It frees up all the energy we are using to fight reality, and we can focus on how we can cope with this effectively and how we can take care of ourselves in this situation. As a behavioral practice, as a behavioral tool, developing the skill takes a lot of steps and it needs a lot of practice. So I just put down a few techniques that are included in this. The use of self-dialogue. Self-dialogue, especially observing your internal reactions, or looking at a situation, recognizing that it is causing your internal reaction to be stressful, reminding yourself it is not your fault, or this will pass. I can fight this, I'm stronger than this. This is one of the steps. Relaxation techniques, like you all know these days, yoga, music, and you name it, like focusing on your breath, mindfulness. It's a very useful technique right now, and alternative medicine is developing a lot about this. And imagery or guided imagery. This helps you get a positive vision of yourself. And the other, we'll move on to the other steps, the other attitude that I would think would inculcate, or should be inculcated to fight adversity, would be a resilient mind. Like everybody has heard of Thomas Edison and his 1,000 attempts at finding the right filament, for his electric bulb. But we also know his resilience was what gave the world amazing inventions, or else we would still be using oil lamps probably. So resilience, how would we define that? It is one's ability to withstand adversity and bounce back and grow despite life's downturns. So I'd also want to mention a very important, a very beautiful line that somebody said, that Dr. Amit Sood. Dr. Amit Sood is a professor of medicine at Mayo College, Minnesota, but he's originally from Bhopal. He studied at the Gandhi Medical College in Bhopal. That's why I was very interested to bring it up. He said, resilience is the core strength you use to lift the load of life. Think of it as a brain muscle. And so how do we build resilience? Steps to build. I just put down very few simple ones. Accept change. You may not be able to change a highly stressful situation, but you can change how you are going to interpret and respond to it. You can educate yourself. Be open, be permeable to your surroundings with humility, flexibility. And then we come to learning coping skills such as adaptability, responding to changing trends, to responding to expectations, self-regulation skills, especially regulation of emotion, thoughts and behaviors. Emotional regulation is a very important skill. It is the capacity to manage an overwhelming emotion and focus rather on overcoming the challenge. The most important of all, the most important or a key or a central element to building a resilient mind would be change in perception. Change in perception can be done through a change in the internal locus of control or to reframe, relate, and reflect. So when we say change in an internal locus of control, it means shifting your thought process. Instead of blaming the external factors for something in your life, you shift it to internal factors and say, what happens to me depends on what I want it to be. Internal locus of control. Reframe, relate, and reflect. Framing adversity as a challenge and you become more flexible. You frame adversity as a challenge, and then on, you become more flexible. You are able to deal with it. You're able to learn from it, move on, and grow. So in conclusion, I also have an example to show how you could turn an adversity or turn a grief into a reaction, into action, and something that is doing something so much for mankind. This is a story of, I'm sure you've all come across, I think he received the Padma Shri. I'm not sure if it was 2018 or before that. So this is Karimul Haq. He's a worker in a tea plantation in Bengal. So one night his mother passed away at like 3 a.m. and he was unable to take her to the hospital. Karimul Haq turned his grief into action and started a free ambulance service in a very remote town in India, in Bengal. So he's transported almost 5,000 people for the past like 19 years. It's about like 1998 he thought about this, and he's been doing this. This is a story to depict how perception, how a change in attitude, turned around his life, brought him accolades, gave him the Padma Shri. So in conclusion, I would want to, just put it out there, or just reflect, say that with care and planning, we can stay psychologically strong in this pandemic, perhaps even grow from this transformative experience. These trying times are also avenues for psychological growth, an opportunity to reflect and find purpose in our life. Something like, I just put in some visuals, like a change in perception can change our adversity to opportunity. It can turn your wounds to wisdom, as did Karimul Haq do. So our world is changing. It's going to be a new world. There are going to be a lot of these positives we are going to see. And moving on from this, as I said, we want to reflect and find purpose in life. So I had this impression I would be talking to students. I put in some visuals to see, to show achievers, to show where people have gone because of all the good attitudes that you would see in them. Like, we don't have to do what they did. We don't have to be them. But we can always try to go there, try to scale newer heights like them. And finally, in conclusion, I just want to leave you with this quote that knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. But this, I want to thank I want to thank the whole panel and Dr. Shikha to give me this opportunity and to get to meet all of you as well. But that is the end of my thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Monu Priyadarshini, for enlightening us on these important attributes as perseverance, resilience, which are definitely going to help us control anxiety, especially during this difficult pandemic period. I'm sure the ways that you've suggested will help us to build an optimistic attitude and definitely will be able to change this adversity into opportunity, as you said. Thank you very much. Now, since spirituality is an important aspect of mental health, we are fortunate to have amongst us Reverend Poonam Bent. Madam is an active religious practitioner from New South Wales, Australia. She was ordained in the United Methodist Church in Western Ohio and migrated to Australia in 1995. She's been the minister in the Uniting Church of Australia since 1996. Reverend Bent completed her Master of Divinity from United Theological College in Dayton, Ohio in 1992 and Master of Ministry from Charles Sturt University, Australia in 2011. She has provided holistic spiritual and pastoral care to a range of communities covering a variety of multi-faith representatives. Ma'am has been working for social justice in the areas of gender equality, climate justice, and human rights relating to indigenous rights and protection of refugees. She is currently associated with chaplaincy of Ladies College, New South Wales. She has been actively working in congregational ministry in Ohio, USA, and New South Wales, Australia, accomplishing various duties as a very thoughtful and caring pastor. She has been mentoring young people, building relationships with people from a variety of backgrounds, community services, facilitating an environment where children and young people can find empowerment and social justice issues. I now invite Reverend Poonam Bent for her talk. Please, ma'am.
You are very kind in your the way in which you've introduced me. I feel extremely humbled in the company of such wise people and such specialists, and I've been so inspired by the presentations from our last two speakers. And I'd like to thank your university and the school for your warm invitation and for how encouraged I feel with all the women leaders. I just feel so proud and happy, and I'd like to just extend my gratitude, deep gratitude to Dr. Aruna, the Vice Chancellor who spoke so beautifully, and Dr. Alka, for your leadership of the college, and for the conveners and for their kindness in inviting me, and especially Dr. Shikha for your kindness in helping us kind of put all of this together. Uh, um, a thanks also to Dr. Ritesh, but definitely a shout out to one of my home girls who's a leader there, Dr. Rabinda, whom I grew up with. So a shout out to her. But I'm going to quickly share my PowerPoint and hopefully not get as many difficulties as we've had. So just hold on with me. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to, can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I think I've scanned through the whole thing, but that's okay. That's all good. Okay, I was thinking with everything that's been presented about this topic, about your altitude defines your. Oh, I've done it, haven't I? Your attitude defines your altitude. But first of all, I wanted to, of course, greet you. Can you still see me? I can't
Yes.
hear you. Okay, cool. All right, as
Yes.
long as I know that you can see. So I wanted to greet you with our traditional Indian greeting and just say to you that my family comes from Varanasi, and you know where that is. So it is a really strong spiritual place. And one thing that Dr. Sinha said as a young person, which I really, really admire, is that you already have what you need within yourself. So you already have that. You come to this world well equipped. And so when we think about how your attitude can define your altitude, it is a journey. And I think you know about the whole, um, all the quotes and all the philosophies that direct us towards the destination, but it actually is about the journey. So let me just move along because I have been known to talk a lot. So I'm just going to make sure that I don't bore you too much because it is a lot to take in. And this is part of what's contributing to our mental ill health in a way is all the online interaction that we have with one another. So just like Dr. Sinha made and gave a disclaimer, I want you to know that it's okay if you're not religious. So you may be a religious person, or you may not be a religious person, but to recognize that all of us are spiritual beings, that all of us are sacred, and that you could be an agnostic or an atheist, but you may be a person who actually serves, quite like the example that Dr. Sinha gave us, is like that person who went out of his way to create something for his community so that others may be lifted. And that was his altitude. That's how he lifted himself up. So everyone is sacred. And I just want to say that because my own experience, I was actually I'm very old, but I was born in the US, and my family returned to India when I was 5 years old, because in those days there wasn't that big an Indian community in the US. And my mother, being the typically Indian woman that she was, and believe it or not, even though I was raised in a Christian environment, and sometimes that can be aligned with Western thinking and culture, we grew up in a very strongly Indian background because my mother came from Varanasi and she could not adjust in the US. So we had to all return to India. And I am so grateful for that because everything I learned, I actually learned in India about spirituality and mental health too. So going to Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, have trouble with French names. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we are spiritual. Everything we are is already deeply connected with God, the divine, with the universe, whatever you interpret, whatever your faith experience may be or non-faith experience. But we are deeply, deeply spiritual beings. And our ancestors in India, which is the bed of um, some great faiths and religions of the world, the strength of Eastern spirituality actually pervades. And I think sometimes why we have so much of struggle now in India because of our history is that we have not valued our our deep spiritual roots, that we are such strong people, that we have made such an influence around the world globally, that we should be so proud of ourselves as Indian people. And that's why when we say Jai Hind, we feel so proud about that. Now, we are, like it's already the speakers before me have painted a picture about what's happening, and I don't have to tell you what's happening. But what is happening is that we're staying at home. And in the midst of staying at home, our mental health is actually suffering depending on what kind of personalities we are. So we may be extroverts who used to, and how Indian folk are, who'd go and visit our friends and family and loved ones and having chai and this, that, and the other, here, there, and everywhere. It's such a delightful culture, and staying at home, even though we have our devices, has not necessarily been wholesome for us. And it's really difficult to relate, whether it's in a romantic relationship or just any relationship. It's been difficult because we are now isolated at home, and the only way we can communicate is through our devices, quite like I'm doing right now. And this is how you may be today. You may be just in your space, wherever it is that you learn, and listening to people. And that too can be an overload emotionally and psychologically. So, where do I find my strength is a great question to ask myself. You may be belonging to a faith community, whether you're a Hindu or a Muslim, whether you're a Sikh or a Christian, or whether you come from the great faith of Buddhism and Jainism, or whether it is you follow a particular strand of Hinduism, whatever it is, you may find your strength in your religion. But I think to always remind yourself that your strength comes from who you are as a narrative and as a story. So, if indeed you are someone who is struggling with depression or anxiety or mental health issues or whatever it is, you don't have to struggle in silence. You can be unsilent. Demi Lovato, who's a singer, says you can live well with a mental health condition as long as you open up to somebody about it. And why I share that is from my own personal story is only now I realize that my mum was my mummy, my mother, my ma, was probably had bipolar, and we didn't even know it because mental health was a language that we didn't speak and sometimes still don't speak in India. And I remember that we would, even through Bollywood representations, through film, and later on through television, we actually would represent mental health as insanity, or the Hindi word is pagalpan. And we would, in a very derogatory way, say to each other, especially for other people who were probably not coping, wo to pagal hai. And it is this stigma of pagalpan or insanity that we have to kind of shift. And only when we shift that will we then be able to continue in this journey with our attitude. So, self awareness and balance. Self awareness and balance means that you and I need to put our devices down. And I've started doing that. During COVID-19, I've been reading a lot more. I've been listening to, like in my tradition, prayers in Hindi and Urdu. So I've been listening. I've been watching more Hindi movies to keep me connected with my language and my culture, especially as I feel disconnected because I'm really worried about when I will get back to India to see my cousins and my family. I don't know if you're familiar with Krishnamurti, great Indian philosopher and thinker. You must understand the whole of life, not just one little part of it. That is why you must read. That is why you must look at the skies. That is why you must sing and dance and write poems and suffer and understand, for all of that is life. And I find that when I'm walking, because I'm thankful that I live on the school premises so I can walk to work. When I'm walking to work, I will actually make sure that I'm not on my device, that I'm looking at nature. And I know in COVID-19 right now, you're not able to step out. And I know it's raining in a lot of places in India, and you're in monsoon right now. But I think to understand and think about that which you're blessed with. So, not isolate yourself just in your room as young people and just be chatting and talking to your friends in chat groups, but actually take time to go to the other room and to see who's in the other room. So, it may be your sister or brother, your uncle or auntie, it may be your grandmother or grandfather, and to sit and talk and to be in conversation. And that's another just image for balance. That was a quote I found, and I intentionally used quotes from Indian philosophers and thinkers because I think the wealth of what we have, we already know. And if we draw on our own wealth, instead of just drawing on the wealth of people other than our own thinkers, then I mean we should always think globally, but I think I always find great strength in looking at Indian thought and literature. So most of the world is like a mental hospital, Paramahansa Yogananda says. Some persons are sick with jealousy, others with anger, hatred, and passion. They are victims of their habits and emotions, but you can make your home a place of peace. And I don't have to begin to tell you what's happening in the world today. We are surrounded by so much of suffering, so much of pain. And I suppose that is what we have to learn in life, is how do we navigate through all of this? And that's why it's really important. If indeed you do follow a faith, I remember I studied Sanskrit when I was in school, and actually feel very proud that I got a distinction in Sanskrit when I was in school. And my grandfather used to quote not only the Christian scriptures, but the Hindu scriptures as well. He would quote shlokas to me, and he would speak to me and talk to me about literature that is holy and sacred, and wisdom that comes from storytelling and sharing. And now, when I am so much older, and now when I live away from the land that I love, I have learned what it is to draw on your home language. And sometimes I recognize that home is not necessarily the best place to be, but we must try our level best. And all the scientific information you've received, take on board what you heard today. This is a great movie. If you haven't watched it, it's Disney's Inside Out, and it's fantastic movie and analogy for mental health. So I'm not going to tell you about it, but go on Netflix, look for it, or try to watch it on a free channel if you can. But Inside Out, and you won't be able to tell me about it, but tell your teachers about it and your friends about it. It's just fantastic. Absolutely. There's one particular part in the movie where people try to push sadness out of the picture, and we're all of everything that we feel, whether it's sadness, whether it's anger, whether it's joy, whether it's sorrow. Well, sorrow and sadness are the same thing. Whether it's anxiety, it's everything that we feel, and we need to be able to own that in our journey. And if we need help, there are mental health practitioners. So if you feel like your life is not in balance, then go back to your priests and leaders, and go back to your aunts and uncles and to the people who raised you, and talk to them about what can be your strength. All right, so I think Dr. Sinha already spoke about kindness, so I'm not going to do that. Well, this is another thing that I really reflect on, and that is Buddhist literature and practice. And I love this quote by the sacred one: happiness will never come to those who fail to appreciate what they already have. You already have what you need. And your future may not look like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? Because we're pretty much in lockdown, and I don't really know if I'm going to be able to finish my studies and actually get a job or go in the professional line that I wanted to. I think let's focus on the present right now. And you may know about mindfulness and meditation and the things that actually equip the mind and strengthen the soul. So perhaps you can reach out to those, I always call them the innermost recesses of your soul. So the innermost recesses of your soul, if you reach deep within yourself, you will find the resilience that Dr. Sinha was talking about, and you will be able to use that. And if you see a friend who's suffering, then you reach out to them as well. This book I'm reading right now, it's a beautiful book about the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Tutu. And I should say His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And it's about lasting happiness in a changing world. And it speaks about how you cannot have, no, I'm not going to do a negative, how you can find lasting happiness, but through the understanding of joy in your life, which means not completely devoid of suffering, because we can't escape suffering. So with those words, I'm going to end and send you lots of love and remind you that you and I are spiritual beings having a human experience, that there is hope for tomorrow. And I'm going to close my slide now. And it's been lovely talking to you. I'm getting a good vibe from you, or I'm just imagining it, but it's still giving me happiness and joy. I'm going to close my thing now. Oh, you're very kind.
A warm morning to one and all. Most honorable dignitaries present over here, I extend my heartiest gratitudes and thankfulness to Reverend Ma'am Poonam Bent for her enthusiastic and extravagant speech. Thank you, ma'am. There are participants asking many questions, so there will be the discussion class in the last. Today, I consider it my overwhelming fortune to be one among the galaxy of intellectuals and enlighten my being. I take it as a proud privilege to introduce in front of you all the wonderful and marvelous personality of the event, Shri Dr. S.S. Raghuvaranji,
Raghuvanshi.
presently residing,
Okay.
yes, sir, presently residing in USA, PhD in quantum physics, ex-head of physics A&D, Atomic Energy Department in Hyderabad, involved in 8 books and 130 international publications. Sir, I would like you would solicit your precious words of enlightenment. Sir, please continue.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Before I successfully come on the screen, let me thank all the speakers, highly intellectually packed, knowledgeable, and profound speakers. Rather than giving a lecture, I was thinking I should continue to listen them because they are so power packed and so well informed that it charges my mind. I am getting a different attitude today. So are you able to listen what I am telling you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. So my topic will be same as you have given to me, and I will be as a physicist. Physicist has got a very big weakness or strength, whatever you can say. He asks the question why and what and why. So I will look into what is the meaning of the attitude. What do you mean by altitude? How does it play with a person feeling? I mean, so many kind of things as Monu Sinha has told, Dr. Bent has told, Dr. Palka has told, and everybody. I will be trying to connect them on kind of interactive. You will find, first let me come to the screen, and I should be successful in that part, in fact. So tell me when it comes, madam. Has the screen come?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can I start now?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, because I was listening the spiritual talk by Dr. Bent, and she was telling she is very good at the Sanskrit. It has motivated me to bring a thought that the best happiness or kind of the best coordination of the mind comes whether it is attitude or any kind of a feeling. I think it is the heart which should be at rest and be in happy state of the affair. So there is a very good sloka. Yanman sadhyati yad vacha vadati yad vacha vadati tat karmana karoti. Means there are three things. आपका जो वाणी है, आपका जो मन है, और जो आपके कर्म है, तीनों जब एक साथ मिलते हैं, then it is the best kind of a coincidence. You agree? I believe so. When I say that, because this is not my Sanskrit sloka, it is told by our saints. So I say that. So at the outset, let me say good morning, because here it is a good evening. So let me wish you a good morning to all the dignitaries. And everybody has been talking as attitude, then success of life, some biology, some psychology, some psychiatry, so many things. Yes, life is made up of all the things. Anything which has not been told is also there, and it is a component. So sometimes somebody excels in a field, then we say he's something very wonderful, but it is his attitude. When somebody is discouraging somebody and somebody gets discouraged and somebody does not get discouraged, it is also a matter of altitude. When somebody stands on a hill and sees around, some says I can jump, some says no, I cannot look around, I am so afraid, it is a matter of the attitude. So attitude is like that in Hindi. I think I can speak some Hindi words here. So this person to whom I have made here, सर झुकाने की आदत नहीं है, आंसू बहाने की आदत नहीं है, हम खो गए तो पछताओगे बहुत, क्योंकि हमारी लौट के आने की आदत नहीं है. This is the kind of attitude most of the time either you will feel it is a dialogue in a kind of a film or a kind of a college atmosphere. But when the life really comes and encounters, we find that things are not same as this. So question arises, what do you mean by attitude? Attitude we say and get away. But attitude is totally a big topic in itself. It's a kind of a perception you have about somebody, about something, or how you react when you see something. Suppose there is a kind of aeroplane is also put in a particular direction. So it is a direction. It is the direction of the mind and it is the direction of the thought. And how you perceive about somebody, this perception can differ from a person to person. Not your perception, my perception, even about the attitude will be the same. I will be differing on many aspects, though the main line of the thinking will be the same. So kind of a thing. So an attitude in a very broad manner, in a common manner, we can say it's like a full tire. When tire is full, everything is fine. We have something like a happiness. But when it gets punctured, the same happiness goes out with the kind of the flattening of the tire. So I was just when I was reading this topic and I was thinking what to say on the kind of the attitude and altitude, they bear kind of a symbiotic relationship. Just like honey is to the flower, I think attitude and altitude are mutually symbiotically related. Now, so I thought, let me go a little uh, different way. So I consulted three books. One book is The Brain Rules, which is a biologist, scientist, and another is Mindset, that is one psychologist. Another is a practicing doctor who has written these three books. I mean, John Medina has written about the brain rules, and then Stanford University, very famous psychologist, Dweck, Carol Dweck, has written on mindset. All the story of attitude and altitude and anything in life is connected with your mindset. Please remember that. And then there is something like trending psychologies. How do you go about with those psychologies? So, well, attitude can be something positive, sometimes can be negative, and sometimes it may be neutral because it depends upon the situation also. You may be very positive, you may be very negative, but if the situation can alter your attitude, I tell you. Because in some moments you will not like to be of the same attitude which you are, and same thing you can that's called instantaneously you can decide your attitude. So there are two types of attitude which develop with, as Dr. Bent was telling, who has grown you up and how you have been brought up, that also develops a kind of attitude, inclination. But another thing is that on site the attitude will be different. For example, in India, on Indian roads, suppose accident takes place, we though have a very positive attitude to help everybody and to do the best, but because of the kind of the law and order condition, kind of the police condition, we will keep mum, because if we say we support, we will have to go to the court as a witness and so on and so forth. So we will immediately change our attitude there. That is a temporarily and instantaneous kind of attitude. So then accordingly you make the opinion, and then you can play the neutral kind of a thing. Sometimes situation come when the things become beyond your tolerance, you become sad. Suppose some child goes to school and college, he fails, he develops a very depressive kind of a thing, he becomes sad. Suppose somebody comes in the merit, he becomes very overjoyed. And this kind of a depression or kind of a excitement, they are all play of some of the feelings, some hopelessness, some discouragement, something like, some sadness, something like hopelessness. And they're all basically, as Dr. Basu was telling, there are hormones which play the cause on certain kind of adrenal kind of those developments. Depression is not simply kind of the thing which is happening. You will find that there are not only physical and chemical, but there are kind of the biological kind of changes. Some of the chemicals, biochemicals get start, I mean, something, they start evolving in our body, and that creates the whole situation different than as it is. So, as I was telling, Dr. Rack has Dweck, sorry, this spelling is not Rack, this is Dweck. He has given two mindsets. One is the kind of the fixed mindset, another is a growth mindset. The fixed mindset, in a way, is like this: I cannot join certain, cannot go certain things. My intelligence is fixed. I am intelligent, or I am very intelligent, or I am low intelligent. I do not know whether I can go more than that. If I say that I can do, let's say, PhD, not beyond that, or I can say I can do MSc, not beyond that, is something you cannot go or developing. You will feel that is my limit, or I cannot change. I am so rigid. And we say that's a kind of a fixed mindset. Or you make an opinion about somebody. I make an opinion about somebody, let's say, and do not want to change. And once we do not want to change, it is like a fixed mindset. The thing is that it may, as long as nothing has got collided, no kind of conflict has taken place, fixed mind may not evolve, I mean, display its differential kind of effect. But if when it happens, it creates kind of conflicts and unresolvable kind of conflicts, and attitude totally changes. Even the son and the father, daughter, or the parents, and things change. For example, we come from a family where the marriage is according to some kind of rules. We have cultural background. Suppose somebody, our children say, we want to go to a different kind of a modern time. So we will have a very difficult time to change that fixed mindset. Though we have changed, but it doesn't mean that we are not changed, but it is a fixed mindset. And that attitude is sometimes very damaging. When you get unsuccess, you blame your this attitude or culture. When you get, I mean, vice versa. And the growth mindset has a different story altogether. There is a saying that in Latin, there is a phrase, very good, that festina lento, that means make haste little slowly. Don't be in a hurry. Everybody wants to progress, want to go to the higher level immediately. Be slow, and you will come, but don't try to get the results or to the top overnight. This attitude is definitely going to cause your psychology in a very damaging way. So in about Kabir, about the 1398, 80, the famous Kabir was a great philosopher. If there were Nobel Prizes that time, I think he would have won all the Nobel Prizes. He had said in this regard, regarding the mindset, that the धीरे धीरे रे मना धीरे सब कुछ होए माली सींचे सो घड़ा ऋतु जाए तो फलाए. I think meaning is self-evident that we should go slow and we should not try to get into the mindset that, okay, I must get the fruits. So we should grow also slowly. We should try to change accordingly, and that is what Dweck model says. And another model, Dr. John Medina model, that is a brain and behavior. As our Dr. Monu was telling, Sinha was telling, and Dr. Palta, our VC madam has told, and our Madam Basu has also told in some or the other context. See, biology as well as physiology and other kind of behavior, other kind of things are also very important. And Dr. John has given total 12 kind of things which one should really follow: exercise, survival, brain, everybody's brain wiring is different, attention, memory, and so many. Sleep, if you are in stress, you will have a problem, your attitude will change. Sensory integration, vision, visualization, music. Sometimes some people are very against music, some are very, they can leave everything but for music. And gender, and so many things like exploration. So, but we should try everything. And also, while trying, suppose you fail or something you are not able to achieve, you should say never. You should never say die. That means you should not try to accept the kind of the defeat. Then there is another model, Dr. Narula, who has written a very recent book about the ego and the kind of the brain structure and the emotions. When the emotion and the feelings and beliefs spill over on your ego, conflicts starts coming, pleasure starts coming. Somebody was talking about the love hormone or love kind of a feeling, everything, this is again basically related to the center of the, rather the nucleus of all the feelings, all the emotion, that is ego. And ego is one of the but I mean, ego. That's why there are two, three words: egoist, egotist, and egoism. So many things are there. I want to just tell you that things are there, and these three books which I was reading, I found that they are really fruitful as far as this topic is concerned, or the attitude or behavior is concerned, or the kind of the driving forces as for example, your attitude is an internal phenomena of the mind, and your behavior is outside. See, there are two things in the same body. One is in the mind, one is another is a reflection of your what you have stored or what you have been thinking in your mind. So this is not, I mean, this attitude is not independent of behavior. Both are correlated. Now, sometimes, as I said, situation will make you accordingly decide what is to be done. Attitude will change, your mindset will change, your out expression will change. Suppose I talk something wrong, your mind immediately will say what you are talking. Something I say good, you will feel good. I mean, so once Einstein told that suppose somebody tries to praise you for your goodness so much that you get overwhelmed. And sometimes in society, in our profession, it happens somebody criticizes or backbites or bad mouthing. Then also our mind also goes to certain level down. Einstein told that you should immediately come to your work, make yourself so busy that your mind does not loiter here and there to get, or rather picking up that kind of attitude which has started damaging your basic structure. So based upon this, I made this model. This I have made, it's not anybody has written, that basically the mind is basically three parts, you can say. One is a thinking, one is a feeling, another is doing. And this is karma. This is your आपका meditation. And feelings means आपका मन कैसा है. अगर आपका मन बहुत अच्छा है, you are very happy. If your thinking is very good, मन बहुत अच्छा नहीं है, तो things will always collide. And अगर आपका यनमन साध्यति, I was telling, यनमन साध्यति यद वाचा वदति यद वाचा वदति तद कर्मणा करोति. This is karmana. This is your man, and this is your what mind says. And when you say of thinking, you talk of knowledge, you talk of thought, region, IQ, skill, and education experience. Feelings, you know better than me. You know very well motivation, attitude, beliefs, values, etc., emotions. But when it comes to the kind of doing, you have to change your mental energy to a physical force. When you have to walk, suppose some preacher says you should do this, you should do that. But when you start working in practical life, you will start having a lot of other kind of problems, not only because of your attitude, but there are many other things which are not told or discussed even in the books. So like that, this is how the attitude and that mutually they influence. So I have just made another model that as a physicist, I am thinking that suppose you take opinions, judgments, and evaluations in three axes. This is not a big mathematics, this is only a qualitative, please bear with me. So if I take attitude, your attitude as a main thing, then it is a function of these three things. Your evaluation, your judgment, and your opinions will decide what is the attitude. And this kind of a function or this vector in life is not fixed always in particular direction. This direction can be for everybody different, just like your fingerprints or kind of the palm lines. This kind of a characterization of these three X, Y, Z will be very different, and people can, of course, specialized people can talk like that. As a kind of a thing, if you think of the structure, basically if you start thinking the ab initio, rather fundamentally, what is an attitude or what is behavior, I tell you like in physics or in chemistry or in quantum, basic thing is atom. After the atom, we come to the molecule. After the molecule, we make a matter, and then all the world around that we say as the world. Similarly, I think when you talk of behavioral science, It is the basic belief or the assumption or the kind of the growth, as Dr. Bent was telling. I'm really impressed by that, how we have been grown. The religion does not come into picture. Even the one religion or the other religion, it's a matter of the belief which are injected in your heart and mind, and then you create the values based upon that. And then your attitude is formed. Attitude cannot be formed immediately without your values, without your beliefs. And if it is found like that, as Dr. Bent was telling, हम उसको पागलपन कह सकते हैं. It is a madness because there is nothing in the mind. There is zeroness and something is. So that's a bogusness or fraudness, kind of a bogus kind of a attitude or expression. Anyway, that is the thing I just wanted to put, because in the webinar I cannot have all the time I taking. So just to tell you, I can put that the behavior is function of attitude, and attitude is function of your values, and values are function of your beliefs. They're all interrelated. You can see from this diagram. So, I mean, it is the train, our Norgay and Edmund Hillary, who raced to the Mount Everest 1953. That was their attitude. Better and more healthier and better athletes you will find in the life, but they cannot go because they are afraid of something or the another, or the kind of the carrying kind of a thought which can take them to the top. And coming to the top is not an ordinary thing. It depends all upon your attitude, your basic beliefs. As I said, basic beliefs will make you the strong or weak. So, as you know that this is our Tenzing Norgay, and this is Edmund Hillary. And coming to the kind of a discouragement or kind of a failure in our life, in our student life, in your professional life, and things like that, we find that these are the most damaging kind of thing in our career, and they change our attitude. But there is saying कि कोई गिरने में राजी तो कोई गिराने में राजी, मगर जो गिर कर संभल जाए वही जीतता है बाजी. And I will be ending almost now. So kind of a thing. So it's attitude, though small, but it can take. It can make the big change in your life. So try to inspire in your life like an Einstein, Mahatma Gandhi, who motivated, an artist who always improves, and an artist will never say, I'm the best. He is always improving. And Narendra Modi, who is the PM at present, is so positive despite all the kind of problems at present we are facing, all the world is facing this COVID-19 pandemic. And there are law and order problem, political, and so many things international about the problem. Now, focus should be like Eklavya Arjun. I have no better example to cite than these. Eklavya, without Guru, he could do. Arjuna could do everything, but the focus was most important. And creative like Ramanuja, who had not gone to any Cambridge or the Harvard University, but he is still challenging the whole genius of the world. So Einstein said, everybody is genius. Do not judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, and do not do the vice versa. Does not mean that if one cannot do something, it means he is incapable. In my conclusion, I would say attitude has to do with your mind, thoughts, emotions, opinions, and only behavior is a reflection of your attitude. Nothing can decide. I can be very cruel, I can be very philanthropist, but if I keep mum, I do not walk, I do not behave, nobody can tell my attitude. So when you behave, it is a reflection of your attitude. So ultimately, it decides your fall or success or to the thing. This is my own painting. I have made this painting. I have written on this. This horse cannot run if it does not struggle. It has to struggle if it has to jump from one to another place. It's true for our body, our own self, our life. So there is a saying, I think everybody might have heard some or the other time, that खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे कि बता तेरी रजा क्या है. Never give up, never give up. Rise to the occasion, struggle and work hard till your goal is achieved. And don't give up, because हर हार के आगे जीत है. And thank you for listening and giving me this much time. I profusely thank to all highly respectable dignitaries for very high intellectuals and very special to me, which I am introduced today. And I especially thank to Professor Srikanth Srivastav, who brought me in this forum, and Dr. Padma, Director of SAF and NGO in Bhopal, who suggested me. And that's all I can say. Thank you very much. And I end here.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. S.S. Raghuvanshi, sir.
I
I would
hope I
like,
have a little more time, but I could not say less than this. So I'm thankful to everybody.
thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. S.S. Raghuvanshi, sir. I would like to extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to you. It was really a very informative and interesting talk by you. Thank you very much once again for enlightening us. I am Dr. Ritesh Kumar Agrawal, the organizing secretary of this webinar. Our next speaker and resource person for today's webinar is a spiritual practitioner and motivational speaker from Finland. As the coronavirus pandemic rapidly sweeps across the world, it is inducing a considerable degree of fear, worry, and concern in the population at large. In public health terms, the main psychological impact to date is elevated rates of stress or anxiety. But as new measures and impacts are introduced, especially quarantine and its effect on many people's usual activities, routines, or livelihoods, level of loneliness, depression, harmful alcohol and drug use, and self-harm or suicidal behavior are also expected to rise. In this scenario, the role of a spiritual and motivational speaker is very, very important. Ms. Sakshi Balekar, the next speaker, is going to guide us to a collection of the best tools to help us navigate this stressful time. Ms. Sakshi Balekar is a Bachelor of Arts from University of Pune. She is also diploma in aviation and hospitality. She was a member of the famous Soka Gakka International, which is a community-based Buddhist organization that promotes peace, culture, and education centered on respect for the dignity of life. In 2014 in Pune, and later on, she became the Future Division Coordinator of the SGI in 2016 in United Arab Emirates. There, she had taken responsibility for treasuring and fostering children of age 5 to 18 years and support them to gain spiritual understanding and forging unshakable faith. Currently, she is Young Women's Division Leader at ESPO, Finland, where she is helping young women establish a solid foundation in life and also encouraging them to stay committed to their spiritual practice without being swayed by temporary emotions and distractions. Ms. Sachi Balekar is an excellent service-oriented, compassionate professional with great interpersonal and self-managing skills. She is an expert in motivation, adaptability, self-discovery, mindfulness, stress reduction, life balance, and happiness cultivation through her spiritual practice. With this brief introduction, I invite Ms. Sakshi Balekar to deliver her spiritual and motivational speech. Ms. Sakshi Balekar, kindly unmute your microphone and take charge of the proceedings. Ms. Sakshi Balekar.
Thank you so much. It was not a brief introduction. It was not a brief introduction at all. Thank you so much for mentioning everything about my experiences in detail. I'm very honored to be here, and a very good morning again to all the other wonderful speakers, as Dr. Raghuvanshi said, that me too, I'm still in the listening mode. All the contents that you shared are so relevant that and here it's early morning in Finland. I've been up since 4, and listening to you was so mesmerizing that I have now almost forgotten what I had to say. My stress levels are already high because I'm now trying to remember what I have to say. Anyways, on that note, let me just try to connect now my presentation. So I can't see the option of presentation. A window. Should I select a window?
Yes, just go to share screen.
Yeah, PPT. Okay, sure. Can you see the presentation now?
No, no, not madam. Yes, it is visible now.
Can you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I would like to start by appreciating this wonderful initiative taken by Dr. Alka Meshram along with her other team members of the faculty, people behind the scene, the technical support, and of course, again, the wonderful speakers and the listeners today. Today, I believe that I am interacting with two very important segments of the society: our educators, our teachers, who always are trying their best so that the students are productive, they are moving ahead in the right direction, they create value in their life. And then, of course, our valuable students, our youth, our future. I don't like to put the age of youth in a bracket, in a certain bracket, but I think everyone will, generally speaking, everyone will agree with the fact that our power, energy, and adaptability is at the peak during the youth. So, what is it in life that there are times when we lose sight of this potential? कुछ खराब एक्सपीरियंसेस के वजह से, कुछ फेलियर्स की वजह से खुद की नजरों में हम इतना क्यों निराश और नेगेटिव हो जाते हैं that we lose sight of our strength. There are some examples that I can remember from my experiences that people have in their thoughts. For example, I think all the students think this way. When I was a student, I was an average student. I also used to think this way, that okay, I'm scoring average marks. That means my life, just because my marks are average, I will be an average student all my life. I will always have average opportunities in life for job, for whatever. And hello, and can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we
Can you
yes
hear
we
me?
can. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and these are the things, and because of which आगे चल के you think your life also is going to be an average life. Then the second example I can share is students are always judging themselves according to their academic background, financial status, social status, जिसके वजह से sometimes they end up feeling inferior in the society. And of course, always the most important factor, physical appearance. Body shape, skin color, आँख या नाक के shape की वजह से they for some reason develop low self-esteem. These are just some common examples that I shared, because of which many mental and emotional problems are seen, and because of which we feel stuck. And sometimes these problems stay with us for years. ये मन में दबी होती है, and there are times when we are not trying new things in life just because somewhere we are not confident enough, and because of these barriers in our mind and heart. I too had my share of uh, emotional and mental problems like this. 11 years ago, uh, when I was 20, I left India and I moved my base to another country in the Middle East. I was still a student and I was pursuing my BA long distance. I didn't have a degree. I didn't have a degree then, and I was stressed all the time. I had these unsettling feelings, anxiety, insecurity, tension, fear, just because I was not sure that without having a degree, how I will get a job. Will I get a white collar job or not? I was tensed about my bank balance. I was I always used to see my friends doing world tours. I would always, have that goal in my mind and think that when is the day when I will be doing that? When will be the when will that day come? And these are all the things because of which my mind told me that I am suffering. So basically, in the presentation, as you can see, my mind told me that I am suffering because I don't have a white collar job. I don't have a good bank balance. I am not able to travel like other people do. I don't have a life partner. My relationship is not doing well. I don't have a very good social status or reputation as I would like to. Hmm. And these are the things because of which I thought I was suffering. So I went ahead, I worked really hard. Next 2-3 years, may I achieved everything. These are the goals that I achieved in the next 2 years. And I was happy. I was happy for a while, कुछ देर के लिए लाइफ में इन चीजों को लेके एक fulfillment था, and I thought I'm doing pretty well until one fine day I realized that happiness because of these things was very short lived. And I was again back to my daily emotions, the things that I was facing every day, the tension, the stress, and anxiety, uncertainty. Those 6 goals were changed by some other new 6 goals. And now अगर जॉब का टेंशन नहीं है तो जॉब प्रोफाइल का टेंशन है. अभी इनसिक्योरिटी जॉब में ये लेके है कि एम आई डूइंग वेल और नॉट. हमारे आइडियाज और ओपिनियंस वर्क फ्रंट पे एक्सेप्ट हो रहे हैं ठीक से या नॉट. एम आई बीइंग रॉन्ग्ड. किसी चीज में इतना हार्ड वर्क डाला है, उसके वजह से अप्रिसिएशन मिलेगा या नहीं. लास्ट टाइम मेरा फीडबैक एक्सेप्ट नहीं हुआ था, तो इस बार I will not say anything. These kind of things always were on my mind. And slowly, the job became very demanding, because of which my work-life balance and there was no balance between my work life and my personal life. So somebody suggested that you should do time management, proper time management. Okay, I accepted this advice and टाइम मैनेजमेंट करके हम बैठे टास्क करने के लिए. सो एक घंटे का टास्क करने के लिए हमें 3 घंटा लग गया. एंड व्हाट वाज द रीजन फॉर दिस? द माइंड वाज नॉट प्रेजेंट. इट वाज नॉट इन प्लेस. It was not focused. It was not alert. So I thought that सब मैनेज हो सकता है, but if the mind is not managed well, doesn't make any sense. And to manage the mind properly, I need to master it. And this is when I started seeking for some kind of guidance and help, and my aunt came to my rescue. She was into this practice of Nichiren Buddhism, where people chant. They as um, people chant. They do a lot of volunteering activities. There's a lot of study involved. But I didn't know about all these things. When my aunt told me that this is a spiritual practice, you must try, I thought, why spiritual practice? क्योंकि पूजा पाठ तो हम already बचपन से करते आ रहे हैं, तो इससे मुझे क्या help मिलेगा? Because my conditioning about spirituality was all about rituals. I didn't know that there is an entire literature behind spirituality. So I told my aunt that I think this practice is not for me, and मुझे कुछ result oriented चाहिए, मुझे कुछ practical चाहिए life में, जिससे मुझे अपने life में change दिखे. Okay, and she confidently said, change आएगा, you just try. Okay, so I tried this. I tried the practice. I started reading. I was very happy because this practice clearly explained me how to use spirituality in my practical life, which I had no clue about before reading about it. I started chanting. I read a lot of spiritual and self-help books. I became in Buddhism, there is a very important term called sangha, that is the community. They say that sangha mein, when you are in with a group of people, when you're working in a team, there are different opinions, there is friction, and this friction helps you polish your life. And which when I realized that, when I became very active in my society, I started fostering friendships, I started engaging in dialogues. Sometimes there were tough people to handle. It really, all this knowledge really helped me polish my own life state. And one wonderful concept that it taught me was, I had a universal mind. Just say you can see here in this slide, this is a very important example that has always stayed with me. Somebody told me that a drop of ocean has the same powers that of an ocean, right? The same way, you are a part of this universe and you have the same unlimited powers, infinite powers as this universe, which actually made sense to me. And it opened me up towards my unlimited potential. And I started focusing on that. That's when I also learned about my mindset of having those materialistic goals. Where was it coming from? It was actually coming from my conditioning. Or conditioning kya hai? All the information that I have from my parents, the movies that I watch, what I see in the society, all this memory is my conditioning. And this also dictates my ethics in life, my right and wrong in life, which may be relevant for me in the country I am living in, or probably define set of people, but this is not the universal philosophy that I started looking for to base my life on. So moving forward, chanting was not easy. Or following spirituality was not easy, because like I said, the conditioning is so strong. You grow up, you are so wired to think in that way, to always think in direction, to always behave in that way, that it becomes very difficult to break through those internal patterns. So just like here, you can see, to have a fit and healthy body, you need to give it time every day, consistently, regularly. The same way, whatever practice you like, whatever spiritual practice you like, you follow it every day, regularly, to maintain your healthy mind. Moving forward, what difference did the spiritual practice and spirituality make to my life. I realized as I changed myself, as I changed my way of thinking, as I broadened my horizons, my quality of life had improved, because of which my external conditions were improving. My uh, relationship with my colleagues was improving, my relationship with my partner was improving, and all this was because I started developing a good relationship with myself. And does this mean have my problems disappeared? Have those emotions disappeared which I used to face in daily life? No, it's not like that. I still feel stressed, I still feel let down, I still feel unhappy, and all sort of low life states that I used to feel earlier. But the only thing now is I'm able to deal with it much faster compared to before. And I'm now more focused on problem solving rather than worrying. I am more focused now on developing the internal values required to attain those goals rather than just chasing those materialistic goals for the sake of the conditioning I had, that I need to belong to the society, and that's why I need a reputation, I need to stand somewhere. Basically, I want to have a sense of belonging, and this is the reason I wanted to have my materialistic goals accomplished. So goals are still there, but the motivating factor behind those goals has become very value creating, and that is not consuming me anymore. Chahe mere goals time pe complete ho nahi ho, what is really important is, am I working hard in the process? And finally, I would like to say that spirituality, how it has helped me is with this one picture, that I am not, the emotions, the negativity is still there, but I am no longer drowning in those emotions. I'm no longer dwelling in those emotions. Every time I have learned to come up, and this is how I have been successful. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Very nice, Sakshi. Thank you, Madam Bhalikar, for the wonderful lecture. Your talk, you spoke so well, and we have totally loved that concept. That a drop of ocean water has the same qualities which the entire ocean has, and you spoke so beautifully on been really a wonderful morning, with all this positivity. Dr. Vaishali Bose spoke well, so well on the, endocrine system and the hormonal balance. Then Dr. Monu, your tagline was lovely about, let us change this adversity into an opportunity. And Dr. Raghuvanshi sir, your Hindi couplets were so beautiful, sir. Very, very relevant, very topical. And you spoke about, the relation between physics and spirituality and the mind growth setup. Wonderful, sir. Dear Poonam, Bent, madam, you spoke so beautifully, and with the comments we have had coming in, we feel that people are totally appreciating, how you have been able to link spirituality, our Indian concept, to the Western concept of spirituality. Thank you so much to all dear speakers. I hope I have not left anyone out. And now I shall just take this opportunity to tell you that, in our English department, since we have seen that somehow it is easier to talk about the pains of the body. If you have a stomach pain, possibly you could talk easily, but pains of the mind, they are like referred to as, Poonam said, a bit of a mental thing, pagal hai kya types. So especially with youth, like Madam Sakshi also said, you see, there is a big what shall I say? It's a very difficult situation because the youth is not able to come out, and then you hear about these distressing suicides, and it is devastating for everybody, for the family, for the student. I mean, the college family and all. It is devastating. The first century Latin thinker Cyrus had said that sometimes the pains of the mind are more than the pains of the body. And therefore, while recognizing that young people find it very difficult, everybody tells them to just be happy. This is youth, be happy. Though I have read somewhere that telling a distressed person to be happy is like, telling a person with a broken leg to start running, and it will heal by itself. So you see, with this endeavor in mind, we have started in our English department of Indira Gandhi Govt PG Arts and Commerce College, Vaishali Nagar, a concept of a hope box, where that we have a box, and the children, the students, throughout the week, they put in whatever problems they are facing, any issue, you see, and then we at the on Saturdays, where we have this, a family type of an atmosphere in the department, we sit, and of course they're all anonymous, so we sit and we somebody pulls out a chit, and we talk about that particular problem. So then there are so many minds, and sometimes students come up and stand up and say, yes, can be titled like that way. So बहुत जो heads हैं वो एक से बेहतर सर रघुवंशी सर ऐसा मानते हुए, वो एक collective wisdom को लेते हुए, we try to see, and then the child, the student, of course, who does not know that it is his problem, he does recognize that. So you see, they have these different things coming in, and people say, yes, this happened with me also. So we try to work out things that way. So in this, इसी तारतम्य में मैं जो हमारे डिपार्टमेंट की प्रिया सिंह हैं, she is a dear student, and she has prepared a video on this, and I would please like to kindly just take 2 more minutes of your valuable time and share this with you. Thank you so much. Priya, please come on, beta.
Thank you, ma'am, for introducing me in such a beautiful manner. And due to shortage of time, I would like to start directly with my presentation. Can I start, ma'am?
Yes, please do.
Madam, is my screen is visible to you? Hello? Hello?
Priya, yes,
Madam?
we can hear you, Priya.
Yes, ma'am. Is my screen is visible to you, ma'am?
Is it?
Yeah, visible.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning to all my respectable teachers, sir, madam, and other participants. And I welcome you to all to the international webinar on mental health. As madam has already introduces me, and so I am Priya Singh, and my name is Priya Singh. I am a participant and a student from Indira Gandhi Govt Arts Commerce PG College, Vaishali Nagar, Bhilai. As we all know that this webinar carries a very beautiful quotation, that is, your attitude determines your altitude. Hence I would like to decipher the core meaning of this phrase, because I think there is a close relationship between the attitude and the success ratio of your life. So the core concept or the meaning of this phrase is that what you think about yourself and your prospect is your life, is your attitude, which in turn dictate your level of success. That will be your altitude. So we can say that if we have a positive attitude about our life, in our life, then our success ratio will be positive. And if we have a negative attitude toward our life, then our success ratio in our life will be in negative direction. Now I would like to tell about the meaning of a mental health, as this webinar is closely concerned with the mental health. The term mental health means the level of a psychological well-being or the absence of the mental illness. It means that if we are mentally sound, then we are mentally healthy people, and if we are mentally unsound, then we are mentally unhealthy people. Now the another thing which I would like to mention here is the present scenario or the issue related to the mental health. As we know, the two prevalence of the mental health disorders globally remain poorly understood, but the roughly global data is that around 1 in 6 globally have a one or a mental disorder. So we can say that this mental issue or mental health problem is not a rare problem, it is very common problem. But the problem is that the people are hesitating to talk about that. So अगर हो सके तो हमें इस चीज के बारे में बात करनी चाहिए. सब कहते हैं कि मेंटल हेल्थ बहुत जरूरी है, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हम लोग कोई इसमें बात नहीं करना चाहते हैं. तो अगर इसका सबसे बड़ा कोई सोल्यूशन है तो हमें इसमें अच्छे से बात करनी चाहिए इसको लेकर के. Now the other thing would I like to mention here is that the initiative taken by the art department. This initiative is named as a hope box. Under this initiative, students are asked to write their problem in a paper and drop it to the hope box, which is a kind of a post box. And on every Saturday, our department sit as a family and discuss the problem in order to derive the best solution of the problem. सो आई थिंक ये जो इनिशिएटिव है बहुत अच्छा है. अगर आप लोगों को अच्छा लग रहा है तो इसे आप लोग भी चाहें तो अपने डिपार्टमेंट में कहीं भी आप लोग इसे यूज कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये बहुत अच्छी रेमेडी के तौर पे ये काम कर रहा है हमारे अपने खुद के डिपार्टमेंट में, और इसे हमने देखा है. एंड इन द लास्ट आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक यू ऑल द डेलीगेट्स विथ अ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल कोटेशन दैट व्हेन what a mental health need is. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya, for giving us a spectacular view from the student side. Now I want to start the discussion session because there are so many questions from the participants, but due to shortage of time, I have picked only few questions. As the first question is for Reverend Ben. I think she's in a hurry to go to the work. Can you answer, madam?
Yes,
Madam
I
Ben?
can. Yes, I can. हाँ बिल्कुल पूछिए.
Okay. This is a question from Dr. Padma Harshal. She's a zoologist and a spiritual influencer in India. She wants to ask, what do you feel about the spiritual teaching in India and Australia? Do you find any connections?
The spiritual what? I missed one of the
She
words.
asked, what do you feel about the spiritual teachings in
Teachings.
India and Australia? Do you find any connections?
Of course, there's lots of connections. And the connections is because even in Australia now, we have such a diverse population of migrants from all over the world. We have a strong Indian community and we also have communities from all over the world. But we also have what we have in most of the colonial world, and that is a constant awareness of injustices that have happened in the land before the second or third migrant generations came through. So quite like what we have experienced in India, through not only the rule of the British but other colonizations that took place in our country. So when I look at that, we say of course there's a connection, because the connection is that people have brought their spiritualities, quite like what Sakshi said. They brought their spiritualities, their experiences. So, what really warms my heart in Sydney, because I live in Sydney, is that where my actual home was. Right now, I live at the school, but where my actual home was is a very strong Sikh community. And the Gurdwara is right there at the front of it all. So you will be driving on the highway, and you'll pull into the community, and there's a beautiful Gurdwara to welcome the community. There are mosques. There's a beautiful temple in the middle of the western suburbs where free food is, even at the Gurdwara, served on particular holy days. If that is not a bridging of cultures and communities and of values and understanding and cross cultural relationships, in fact, and I'll quickly say this and I have to go, during the bushfires, सबसे जो prominent community थी यहाँ पे जिसने काम यानी जितना service किया, it was the Sikh community. And as an Indian person, I was so proud because somehow in the world around us, we are known for our accent. We are made fun of by people. And I speak against this because I always say we are not valued for who we are. And then to see the Sikh and the Muslim communities, particularly in what is known as a former Christian country, but now secular, I was very proud and happy. So I've got to leave you, love and leave you all, but take care of
Thank you,
yourselves
madam.
and may peace be yours. Thank you for
Thank you,
listening.
madam. Thank you. The next question is for Dr. Monu Priyadarshini. It is asked that did you find controlling personal anxiety during pandemic easy task for individuals? Dr. Monu, are you there?
Yes, Dr. Srivastava. Yes, ma'am. So I am not a practicing psychiatrist, but I did read articles where in the current COVID crisis, the cases of mental health issues are definitely on the rise. Almost a statistic of 1 in 5. I know the statistic from this country. 1 in 5 Americans are reporting anxiety, which is a normal response in saying, but 1 in 5 are definitely experiencing a lot. One. The second thing, the factors are multiple. The financial instability, the social isolation, the unpredictability, no one knows, the uncertainty, all of these. But what is more important is the actions. A lot of people are taking measures to, as I put down, measures such as connecting through media, doing increasing exercises, and then lots of these frenzies have gone, baking frenzies, baking east, and all of these. So I did come across I'm going to put this website in the chat. This is a website for information that I also refer to. It's my Mayo Clinic one. And for India, I actually came across this free open counseling, so that the students, people, anybody living in different cities. I'm going to put the website again in the chat, so you can please share with the students. You can copy these websites and put it in an email or put it in our WhatsApp. So this is an open counseling hotline that I came across. I also have friends who are psychiatrists practicing in India, but I could not get any particular information, but I can follow up. Once I get an information, they do have hotlines. They have counseling, teleclinics. You could do the same thing, this webinar. You could reach out to them. You could just talk to them if you want to be anonymous. So I can follow up with more information. Is there anything else that I can answer? Dr. Shwat, ma'am. There are definitely the measures that I had put down about keeping less social media for people who do engage more social media for people who are in isolation, connect with your family, with old friends, do creative skills, do a lot of other, tap into other creativities, learn a language, read a classic that you've always wanted to, many other things. But yes, finally seek help if it's not, not manageable by yourself.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Priyadarshini.
Thank you.
The next question I would like to ask to Sakshi madam. Is she there? Sakshi madam? I think there's some connection problem. So there is another question for Dr. Raghuvanshi.
Yes, madam. I am audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So there is a question. How one can manage to be occupied during the COVID period away from native place? If someone is away from his native place, how can they manage this COVID pandemic time? How can they be occupied?
So, madam, this is a very good question, and whoever has thought this question is a question for many. But in my case, I have certain hobbies which I am pursuing. One is writing the poetry books, one is a novel, and painting I do. I have right now some paintings I can show you right now here. This is on the theme of, are you able to see? This is on the theme of this Tibetan lamas. This is your some beach here on California beach.
Sakshi madam arrange.
So anyhow, this is one, and something is there nearby. I can show you. This is the novel I have written, which is published now. Okay. So there are many such things I keep on doing, and presently I am doing three courses from one is from Harvard, one is from Stanford, and one is from California Institute of Technology, Caltech, on three things. One is the physics, spatial relativity, and astronomy, and the latest frontiers of the universe. I think I am talking to myself.
No, we can hear you, sir. We can hear, and we'll certainly read your books.
So I keep busy, madam, like this. And then, of course, in the family, then there are, otherwise also we are busy. But I am trying to take out this time to make the time golden. This is my attitude now. My attitude is to bring the best out of this time of the quarantine, which is of self-quarantine in nature. Any further question, madam?
No, sir, thank you. And we'll certainly follow your steps. So, Sakshi madam is available?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
Yes, madam. There's a question from Madhavi Agrawal.
Yes.
She wants to know, in today's world, we are connected by webinars and also devices. So in future, will it be difficult for a personal contact, a person-to-person contact? What are your views about it?
See, I think it depends. देखिए, कोई भी devices हैं, you see there is a good side to it and there is a bad side to it as well, right? I will just give you my own example. When I started practicing spirituality, the first thing I did was cutting myself off social media. सोशल मीडिया पे जाना बंद कर दिया, क्योंकि मुझे लगता था कि मैं कहीं डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो रही हूँ, एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट। मैंने कोई भी ऐसा कोई भी डिवाइसेस यूज नहीं किए, अपने माइंडफुलनेस पे ध्यान दिया। ओके, बट द पॉइंट इज विथ टाइम आई लर्न कि ये टेक्निकल चीजें भी मेरे लाइफ में इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू मेंटेन कांटेक्ट विद पीपल, कोई इंडियन कंट्री में है नहीं है, कोई दूसरे कंट्री में है, so these things are required for me, but the point is, am I letting these platforms consume me? क्या मैं उसके वजह से पूरी तरीके से डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो रही हूँ? एंड दैट डिपेंड्स ऑन मी कि मैं कितने माइंडफुली इन डिवाइसेस को इन प्लेटफॉर्म्स को हैंडल करती हूँ, एंड इट्स अप टू मी कि मैं इससे वैल्यू क्रिएट कर रही हूँ या मैं इससे अपना टाइम वेस्ट कर रही हूँ। सो इफ a person is using these platforms to create value in life, I don't think it will be a problem, and it should be balanced, and सबका अपना कितना बैलेंस रहेगा, everyone has their own take to it. शायद मेरा बैलेंस दूसरे के बैलेंस करने के तरीके से अलग हो, so it's a very individualistic thing.
Okay, madam. Nice, very nice suggestions. So,
thank you.
We'll start the last part of the webinar about concluding it. Thank you.
So we have now reached the last phase of our webinar today. It was full of positive vibes, positive energy, and believe me, this positive energy and vibes started flowing right from the time when our VC man spoke. And it flew on as these vibes came from Finland, from Sultanate of Oman, from California, from Australia. And so now we have reached the last phase. And I think all these lectures and vibes and positivity will help us to reach our goal and ultimately reach our altitude. So now, may I request our senior most professor of our institution, Dr. Kailash Sharma, who is also head of the Department of Hindi, for vote of thanks. So please.
नमस्कार। वक्त कैसे गुजरा पता ही नहीं लगा।
नमस्ते।
आज का ये जो वेबिनार है, योर एटीट्यूड डिफाइंस योर अल्टीट्यूड, इस वेबिनार में देखा जाए तो इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार है, लेकिन दुनिया में 6 कॉन्टिनेंट है और 6 कॉन्टिनेंट में 4 कॉन्टिनेंट एशिया, यूरोप, नॉर्थ अमेरिका और ऑस्ट्रेलिया, 6 कॉन्टिनेंट का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हुआ। तो दूसरे शब्दों में हम उसको इंटरनेशनल वेबिनार के साथ साथ इंटर कॉन्टिनेंटल वेबिनार भी कह सकते हैं। इस वेबिनार में जो वर्तमान परिस्थिति यहाँ चल रही है, उस पर एक ऐसा विषय लिया गया जो थोड़ा हट के था, मेंटल हेल्थ के ऊपर, और उस पर हमारे बीच में इस विषय के विशेषज्ञ उपस्थित रहे जो अलग अलग विधाओं के थे और उन्होंने बहुत ही तथ्यात्मक, रोचक और सूचनापरक जानकारी दी। मैं इस वेबिनार के चीफ गेस्ट हेमचंद यादव विश्वविद्यालय के माननीय कुलपति डॉक्टर अरुणा पल्टा के प्रति विशेष रूप से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। और जब महाविद्यालय में इस प्रकार का कोई एकेडमिक आयोजन होता है या इसके अलावा दूसरी गतिविधियों में होता है, तो कभी कभी शॉर्ट नोटिस में भी वे हमें समय दे देती हैं और हमें मोटिवेट करती हैं। मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि माननीय कुलपति महोदया का हमको आगे भी सहयोग मिलते रहेगा। इंस्टीट्यूट के जो हेड हैं, जब तक उनका सहयोग न मिले तो कोई भी कार्यक्रम जो है वो सफल नहीं हो सकता। वो एनर्जेटिक है, ऊर्जा से लबरेज हैं और कमेटी पर भरोसा करके वे हमें प्रेरणा देती हैं कि आप इस कार्यक्रम को कराइए। हमें हमेशा मोटिवेट करती है, हम उनके प्रति भी आभारी हैं। आज के इस वेबिनार में अलग अलग विषयों में मेंटल हेल्थ के ऊपर बहुत सारी बातें आई कि मेंटल हेल्थ को हम किस प्रकार से मैनेज कर सकते हैं, मेंटेन कर सकते हैं, कि सकारात्मक सोच चाहिए, आशावादी दृष्टिकोण, बैलेंस डाइट, एक अच्छी नींद भी चाहिए। ऐसे बहुत सारी बातें हैं जो हमारे मानसिक स्वास्थ्य पे प्रभाव डालती हैं। हमारे बीच में गेस्ट स्पीकर के रूप में डॉक्टर एस रघुवंशी आप यूएसए से, डॉक्टर वैशाली पी बोस ओमान से, डॉक्टर मोनू प्रियदर्शिनी कैलिफोर्निया यूएसए से, साक्षी भालेकर फिनलैंड यूरोप एवं पोस्टर पूनम बेंट ऑस्ट्रेलिया। आप सभी के प्रति महाविद्यालय परिवार आभारी है और उम्मीद करता है कि आगे भी आपका सहयोग मिलते रहेगा। यह महाविद्यालय जो है आप लोगों से जुड़ा, हमें बड़ी प्रसन्नता की बात है। मैं ऑर्गेनाइजिंग कमेटी कन्वीनर डॉक्टर मुरली राय एवं को कन्वीनर डॉक्टर शिखा श्रीवास्तव, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर रविंदर छाबड़ा, डॉक्टर रितेश अग्रवाल, इनको आभार के बजाय बधाई देना चाहूँगा कि इन्होंने एक बहुत ही सुंदर कार्यक्रम का आयोजन किया। महाविद्यालय के अन्य प्राध्यापक डॉक्टर संजय कुमार दास, डॉक्टर मीनाक्षी भारद्वाज, प्रोफेसर सुरेश कुमार ठाकुर और सुश्री जयश्री, आपने भी इस कार्यक्रम के लिए विशेष प्रयास किया। आप
सभी जो हैं बधाई के पात्र हैं। आज के इस वेबिनार में 753 पार्टिसिपेंट रहे और एक तरह से एक अच्छा आयोजन था। मैं ये उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आप सभी को ये जो तथ्यात्मक सूचना परक जानकारी मिली है, इससे आप लाभान्वित हुए होंगे। और केवल आप ही नहीं, बल्कि आप अपने छात्रों को, आप जिनसे संपर्क में आते हैं, आपसे मिली जानकारी वो तक पहुंचेगी और हम एक बेहतर समाज और एक बेहतर दुनिया बनाएंगे, ऐसे मुझे उम्मीद है। तकनीकी सहयोग में राजकुमार एवं उसकी जो टीम है, उसके प्रति भी मैं आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। पुनः आप सभी प्रतिभागियों को, अतिथि वक्ताओं को, हमारे मुख्य अतिथि को, महाविद्यालय परिवार की ओर से आभार, और उम्मीद करता हूँ कि भविष्य में जब कोई कार्यक्रम होगा तो आपका सहयोग मिलते रहेगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।